The galactic community had never faced a greater threat than the Mirims. They were ruthless, violent, dedicated entirely to war and the extermination of anything different. The entire galactic core, sometimes mortal enemies since generations, had to ally to defeat them. And even after decades of a total war that left the known universe in ruins, even after the God Emperor was left dead on his golden throne, some of his wretched subjects escaped. They fled on arc ships to the vast and unknown galactic disk, forcing the United Galactic Front to keep exploring the barren skies of the outer galaxy to root out any potential new Mirim civilization. Still, thought Grand Admiral Erlung, you needed to be insane to even consider living there. No wonder that in 350 years the Second Expeditionary Fleet had only encountered some Mirim settlements, and no native civilizations. Habitable worlds were so scarce here that you would often only find one in a radius of hundreds of parsecs. Even if intelligent life had existed there, they couldn't expand in space in these conditions. And it was clear a monoplanetary civilization stood no chance against the Mirims, that seemingly had conquered all life-bearing planets discovered so far. The Grand Admiral was lost in these thoughts, when a scream broke the silence of the command room. "I've got a signal!" It was the detection officer. The Grand Admiral jumped out of his chairs. "Comms? Check with the other ships, see if they see the same thing. Detection? Identify the number and size of hostile vessel. The others, batch your post. I want every craft to be ready for battle in 15 standard time units." He got closer to the detection officer. "What is your first estimate?" "Impossible to judge their size from this far, but we will be looking at around 12,000 ships, sir." The Admiral was breathing heavily, trying to contain his fear. Those were not full-size ships. At most, fighter drones, with a few carriers and actual warships. It couldn't be otherwise. His own fleet had only 5,000 ships, and it needed the full industrial might of 10 worlds to be built. The Mirims couldn't have such industrial capabilities here in a galactic arm. It was impossible. "Sir," said the communication officer, some confusion in his voice, "the hostiles appear to want to open communications." The Admiral's mind was racing. Mirims never wanted to negotiate. What could this mean? "Open me a channel." "But sir, it's an order." The Admiral knew the risks, obviously. Opening a channel would expose them to a cyber attack. He was confident about his security team, but that still was a potentially unnecessary risk. An image appeared on the screen and he gasped in shock. The creature before him was completely unknown. Was it some genetic abomination, created by the Mirims for God knows what twisted purpose? This suspicion was reinforced when it started to speak in a highly formal Mirim. "I apologize for using the tongue of our enemies, but it seemed like the only one we could both know." Before the Admiral could even speak, the thing continued. "I am Commander John Leigh Smith, of the 33rd Reconnaissance Fleet. I welcome you on behalf of all..." Error, unrecognized word. That last word was not recognized by the translation system, and it did not sound Mirim. The Admiral found it a good sign. Maybe these Umans came from another galaxy, hence the term reconnaissance fleet. Still, he should give them as little information as possible before knowing more. "Greetings, Commander. We were sent here by the Galactic United Front." He would not commit the same mistake as this Umans and reveal his mission to a stranger. He just hoped it would not raise suspicions. "You're a colonization fleet, right?" Yes. How could you tell?" He had no idea why Commander Leigh Smith would think that, but it was a golden opportunity. "It's because your ships are armed, but only lightly." The Admiral did his best to not appear shocked. Lightly armed? The expeditionary fleets were some of the most powerful ones to ever roam the galaxy, capable of ravaging entire planets occupied by the fierce Mirims. I need to discuss with the, Civilian Council. We were not expecting first contact on this mission, and it will change everything. Of course. Take as much time as you need, said the Umans before cutting the communication. The Admiral let out a sigh of relief, before summoning the Strategic Council. A few standard time units later, the Strategic Council was finally reunited. The Grand Admiral would begin the session as per tradition. As I'm sure you're all aware, we recently made contact with an unknown fleet. It belongs to a newly discovered species called humans. The discovery of a new sentient race was completely unexpected, and we are not prepared for this, but we need to act fast. Here is all we know about them so far. First, a good news. They consider the Mirims to be their enemies, and are friendly towards us. In fact, they even believe us to be civilians. The officers started to laugh, with the exception of the head of observation. She asked for the permission to speak. Our sensors have captured numerous pictures of human ships. This one is the most detailed. A picture appeared on the screen before me, and the Grand Admiral felt as his blood froze solid in his veins. He has seen Mirim ships before. They were monstrous, like some wicked temples of steel, full of cannons, dedicated entirely to their mission of utter eradication. Well, Mirim ships looked like peaceful civilian vessels, compared to the nightmare in front of my eyes. Its shape was very rectangular, its hull of bare steel, designed only for function and not shape. It had seemingly no windows, only its sensors to observe the outer world. But that was only unsettling. No, the true horror was its weaponry. It seemed that this ship was covered in a forest of plasma cannons, missile launchers, kinetic batteries, lasers, railguns, and all the other weapons ever conceived by a sapient being. The only clearings were around the hangar bays, that no doubt contained fighters designed by the same insane school of thought. The Admiral had no doubt what he was witnessing was the most efficient machine of war ever conceived. As he kept examining the picture, he felt as something else was wrong. Their weapons, he finally said. Why are they so small? They're not, Admiral. Take a look at the scale. The Admiral nearly choked. The vessel was more than twice as big as the flagship he was in currently. Please tell me this is their flagship. I'm afraid this model constitutes the bulk of their fleet, at around 8,000 units. No. What do you mean, no? Our sensors failing so horribly is extremely unlikely, but still less than such a fleet existing. That is simply not possible. It would be at least as powerful as the Grand Imperial Fleet of Mirim, and the final forces of the United Front combined. It cannot exist in such a desolate region of the galaxy. This meeting will be put on hold. I intend to call the humans again to solve that mystery. If I may, said the head of communications, we just received their linguistic data, and should be able to translate their language. Great. And the thing beats conversing in Mirim. There's just one problem. It appears they call their language English, not human. The Admiral was nervous. He was hesitant to restart communication. There was clearly something wrong with all of this, and the sooner he cleared up confusion, the better. Finally, he pressed the button and reopened the communication channel. Hello again, human. Or should I call you English? Why would you think I'm English? Commander Leigh Smith was confused. It took him a few seconds to realize the source of the mistake. The language data. So, yeah, I speak a language called English, even though I'm not English myself. It's a long story. Anyway, what did the council decide? Why are you so friendly to us? Your ships look rather aggressive compared to ours, even the military ones. Well, we're a young race, so our resources are very limited. We can't afford fanciness right now. As for why we're friendly, well, You're the ones who chase the Miriams, right? That is correct. What does the Miriams have to do with all of this? Before we discovered FTL, a small Miriam fleet attacked us. We managed to defeat them, and with their technology, we began our expansion. Reconnaissance fleets like mine were established to find the people who scared them that much. Scared? Yeah, you absolutely traumatized them. They're in such a hurry that in a few systems they do settle in, they don't even try to set up proper infrastructure. Really? Really? Speaking of infrastructure, maybe you could help us with that. The data we got from the Miriams was very fragmented, and didn't give us much insight on civilian tech. We'd be interested in what you can teach us about asteroid mining. No equivalent found. Spheres. No equivalent found. Brains, and no equivalent found. Excuse me, I think our translator has a problem. Could you explain what were the last three I think you mentioned? Of course. Dyson spheres are how we call these structures surrounding a star, to cap all of their energy. Matryoshka brains are computers built to use the power of a Dyson sphere, and terraforming is the act of making a barren planet habitable. You can build such structures simply by mining asteroids? Wait, you can? Guess our tech really is far behind, huh? No, we still need to disassemble entire planets for that. Asteroid mining is more for building our ships. Speaking of which, do you think our military is strong enough for what's out there? I know the 50 reconnaissance fleets are pretty small, but the 250 defense and 150 offense fleets are much more capable. Yes, I think that will be enough. That's what our High Command thinks too. Wait, seriously? Yes, they think investing in expanding that kind of navy is a waste of resources, and we should rather wait for the development of planet ships to be completed. But planet ships? Yes, planets turned into impenetrable fortresses, filled with as many ships as possible, and then equipped with giant weapons and warp drives. Ingenious, is it not? Certainly. So far, we've found 350 candidates. The actual ships will also be much more automated. Think that to maneuver a Sirius-class corvette, which makes the bulk of my fleet, you need 30 men. There are only 30 billion humans in total. If we can't use them more efficiently, we'll never have a decent military. Wait, you look sick. Is everything alright? I just need to send a message to my superiors. The Admiral cut the communication channel. These people are insane. Collecting the energy of a star? Creating artificial habitable planets? Planet ships? No wonder the Miriams weren't building that kind of infrastructure. Send a message to the Chancellor. We're doomed.